Hello, this is First Fire Non-Assault Move. Welcome back to the 7th video in the War in the East series. Pretty cool, already at 7 videos. Many more to come, I hope. The theme of this episode is the Germans are beset with possibilities and kind of agonizing over which course of action to take, primarily with Army Group North and Army Group South. Army Group North doesn't have a great role to play other than holding the line, more or less. And question is, where do we hold that line? We'd like to take Talonin, but I counted the hexes a little earlier. I think it's like 130 miles away from us still. And we only have infantry to really march on Talonin. We could divert the 56 Panzer Corps to go north and take Talonin in a more rapid fashion. But then it would put the Panzer Corps up here. And what are we going to do with them in the weeks following after they take Talonin? Are we going to move them back south to support Army Group Center? They're definitely not going to make a difference attacking towards Leningrad. And there's not much infantry to really support the 56 efforts in any real attack. So the question is then, where are we going to defend? If we could take Talonin somehow, then the 56 could rush up there, take Talonin, and the infantry could make their way as quickly as possible and have the Gulf of Finland on our left flank, anchoring our left flank, and we would defend here up till the Peipus Lake, and then down all along the west side of the Peipus and the Pskov. And then we have Pskov City that we would like to take. Or we could defend on the west side of the Velikaya River. So that would stretch us pretty thin, but we wouldn't have to defend, and again I counted some hexes, about 90 miles of front, because I do not believe you can move over the Pskov and the Peipus. Maybe when they're frozen over? I don't think I've ever encountered the opportunity to try that. So we could do that as one course of action to set up a defensive line in Army Group North, or we could come up to just south of the Imojagi River and have, again, the Pskov as a place to pretty much not have to defend. So we wouldn't put any infantry here, which would save infantry to thicken the line along this river and the southern boundary of Army Group North, and then just pretty much go a 90-degree angle and due west about along this line. That would shorten our lines and not extend us as much, but we wouldn't take Talonin or any of these other little towns, and it would give the Soviets plenty of opportunity to come take Talonin and set up shop in here. It'd give them a lot less wiggle room if we kept them contained. So I think I'm going to go with Talonin because I really don't have any other pressing tasks for 56 Panzer Corps. I could remove them from Army Group North entirely, but I don't feel like that's a reasonable option because Army Group North should have some tanks to counterattack and exploit little opportunities. So yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll make our moves to do that plan. Army Group Center, their big focus is to attack through the land bridge between the Daugava River and the Dnieper River. So we are going to shift our Panzer Corps up north and attack through this area. The Soviets are going to defend in depth, and they have some robust formations to conduct that defense, but it's a heck of a lot better than attacking over a major river with Soviets waiting on the other side with almost the same amount of forces available to them. And it allows us to stretch our infantry out, be a little more economical with how we position our infantry, because they'll have the river on their behalf to defend on the west side of the Dnieper. So it'll be kind of a Mexican standoff, but economy of force, we can shift the bulk of our Army Group Center forces and punch through the land bridge. So that's Army Group Center's plan. The objective being the end state is to break through and threaten Smolensk and unhinge the Dnieper defense from north to south. Army Group South. There's a lot more to ponder because there's a lot of opportunities available to us. Run through them real quick in general terms. We want Kharkov, and we want Rostov, and everything in between. Everything west of Kharkov and Rostov. And we don't want Kiev being a pain in the rear if we start to expand eastward and the Soviets are lodged here. Don't want to make the same mistake that I made, not removing impediments, tying up forces. Obviously, this is a much bigger impediment to leave Kiev here than a few divisions here, but it's still disruptive. So, with that in mind, we're looking at the Cherkasy bridgehead. We can do a few things going either north or south as axes of advance. And each north or south axis of advance could looks a little different. They're like sub-axes advances going north or south, and is always east because Kharkov is east. So if we get over the Cherkasy, we could strike towards Kharkov directly, or we have a great opportunity to quickly roll up the defenders on the east side of the Dnieper and that will greatly facilitate taking Kiev. That's kind of good to have, but it really doesn't strategically or operationally devastate the Soviets or position us to devastate the Soviets in coming weeks or the next year. So I was thinking that we would strike towards Kharkov, and in so doing, we'd extend our front, and we would also, with, again, economical forces, just plug our way up north along the east bank of the Dnieper so that we can take Kiev. And we'll just clear this out because we don't want all of these forces right up against a narrow penetration. So if we take Kharkov and we take Kiev, but we don't go any further in the Kiev area of operations, it kind of forms a natural salient to take advantage of in maybe, if we're lucky, before winter sets in, or definitely as the front solidifies and gets frozen due to the winter. A spring offensive, we could potentially strike north and almost west and out of Kiev, which we have a bridgehead here, and form a pocket and destroy as many Soviets as we could. And that would be a good start to 1942. The other option is to take Kharkov and again roll up. You got to take Kiev, roll up the defenses on the east side of the Dnieper, take Kiev, And then instead of thinking of that salient to strike north and west, we would strike towards Stalino and Rostov. And potentially, if we could cut them off from the Crimea, have a huge pocket throughout here. Like with Dnepropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia, this city, kind of in the middle of the pocket. But center to all those courses of action is taking Kharkov. I don't want to obsess on Kharkov, but I think it's a fantastic milestone to have reached with this ahistorical attack into the Soviet Union. So, because look at Kharkov here. It's a heavy producer for the Soviets, and to get it that out of their hands as soon as possible would be very beneficial to our war efforts. So, how do our chances look to achieve our main objective to take Kharkov, which kind of sets us up for phase 2 of any preceding operations? The pocket here, or attacking towards Rostov and forming a pocket here. Chances are not too encouraging at this point, and we don't expect supply to get much better than it is. We're looking probably at our panzers and our motorized divisions to have at best 50 to 60% fuel at any given time. And for instance, we'll click on the 31st, and you can see we moved 10 miles, and we're already down to 16 movement factors. And if we won't go through clear, go over the bridge, see it goes 10 to 5, so that's quite a move to go over. Probably a damaged bridge and not an access rail. And we're down to 1 movement, only covering that distance. And you can remember the immense distances we covered on turns 1 and 2 with our mechanized forces, because they were topped off with fuel. So the 25th motorized isn't going to do much except start forming a corridor, and the divisions that happen to have some fuel will provide the combat power to start punching towards Kharkov. So is that too ambitious of a plan to take Kharkov right now in the condition our tanks are in? 16th Panzer Division of the 36th Panzer Corps. Let's check out its movement possibilities. We're down to 10, and we haven't even made contact if we go towards Kharkov. It's a little better if we start to attack south immediately, and that's kind of a course of action Charlie. It's kind of like last on the list. Another option for us is to make a limited bridgehead, roll up the defenses on the other bank of the Dnieper, take Kiev, and then, with economy of force, and then strike as hard as we can, as fast as we can, through all this open terrain, because there's a lot less Soviets built up. They really have conceded defending these great steplands, and really no major objectives concerning them, except giving up their industrial base in this part of the east. That would get us Rostov, more than likely, Stalino, Dnepropetrovsk, and this city. So that's a decent course of action. It's a comfortable one. it's the least excuse me. It's the least path of resistance, and it's the least risky because we could easily see ourselves stalling before we even reach Kharkov due to fuel, and our lines are extended, and we haven't achieved really anything except gaining some territory. It could, if we don't take Kharkov, it still starts to project the creation of a natural salient here, but not a deep one. So a lot to think about. I've been mulling this over, and I'll probably, as I'm talking through this, I'll probably mull over it a little bit. As I just went over this with you, I'm kind of liking the idea of getting infantry over, have that shallow bridgehead, push up north, clear out this to get completely over the Dnieper here, which poses a great threat later on for future ops, but comfortably and not insignificantly taking all these cities, Stalino, Rostov, and maybe hypothetically taking Maikop. Where are you, Maikop? We talked about you. There you are. Getting those incredible fuel production 10 and oil production 9. Apologies, a little bit of an interruption. So, again, I will mull this over a little bit, off camera, of course, and come right back and make a decision on what we're going to do with Army Group South. Because I got to remind myself, we're not winning the war in 1941. We want to position ourselves to really make the knockout blow in 1942 and do some cleanup in 1943 and achieve our victory. Which I'd like to point something out here. Info screens. Show victory screen. So, Axis will have a... Oh, look, it tells us what we have. 164. The Axis will have an automatic decisive victory if we have 290 victory points at any one time. If we go all the way to 1945 and we have either 200, 289, and that's wide. That's a wide span of points, 200 to 289, we'll have a major victory. So we could play the long game. The Germans could have played the long game. Hindsight's 2020, maybe not extending all the way to Stalingrad, and even 1943, instead of Kursk, having the incredible force they had available to them to make the Kursk offensive. Just imagine not squandering that, and with Manstein at the helm and all the other great generals, their counterstrokes are just as devastating to the Soviets as were the offensives. So they could have played the long game and bled the Soviets white. So maybe probably never reach a peace or a ceasefire because of the hatred between ideological differences between the two opponents. Much more likely to have something like that happen on the Western Front, but they could have played the long game. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent and just broadly speaking about stuff. So could go the long game, and we get a minor victory if we only have a mere 142 points. So what's that tell us? Looky. If we played till 1945, we already have 164 victory points. So we have a minor victory right now. That's pretty interesting. But that's kind of... I don't think you'd really be interested in that. It could be like a game I could play off to the side and play that strategy. But I think an Axis major victory would be a fallback for us if we do not get the 290 and not do anything risky, and with hindsight, not have the same crippling losses that occurred to the Germans historically. Hindsight's brilliant. It makes you a brilliant armchair general. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. All right, so I'll be right back as I continue to mull this, and we'll get to the bottom of it. Oh, Steve was great. I'll talk about some more things he had for his comments, but quickly point out, racking my brains about why info screens, losses, why that couple turns back when we were cleaning out the pocket in front of Minsk, why we didn't see those 1,000 AFEs destroyed. Well, Steve pointed out, well, I should have looked at the losses screen prior to executing the turn, and I would have seen them. We only saw about 100 and so AFE losses after we executed the Soviets' turn. That was the losses that happened during the Soviets' turn, and our like 100 and something, 140, 130 AFE losses was that attack the Soviets made on I think it was the 1st Panzer Division, right outside of like 30, 40 miles to the west of Kiev, if you remember that. So yeah, now I know when to properly get an understanding of our losses prior to ending the turn. It will show what the Germans have inflicted on the Soviets, and likewise what the Soviets had inflicted on us, but it would be on that German's turn. All right, I just want to show you that. And finally, I will be right back. All right, come to a decision. Army Group South is going to go the safe route and attack south and east, breaking out around Kirovograd, and pushing towards Dnepropetrovsk and the city, and ultimately taking Stalino and Rostov. And along the way, as we front gets widened, we will have the benefit of the Romanians, the Hungarians, and the Slovaks to cover long portions of the front, the quiet sectors, vigorously reconning so that we don't have another so that our Axis miners are not taken advantage of as they were during Stalingrad. So that will give us some flexibility after we take Stalino and Rostov to attack almost due north towards Kharkov. And the Soviets are going to be starting to be stretched, and we may be able to find some weak spots along their front for future operations. And of course, we need to use our infantry as best we can. I might devote one Panzer Division to add a little kick to clear out the east bank of the Dnieper, and take Kiev. That's what we're going to do. And I'll leave you at that and start doing some moves. And I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's get a situation report, starting with Army Group North. 56th Panzer Corps was able to take Kalinin and establish some ownership of these hexes all the way up to the coast, the Gulf of Finland. The infantry is marching as hard as it can, but it hasn't made the greatest progress to get north to start establishing our defensive line with the Gulf of Finland on our left flank down to the Peipus, along the Peipus. Probably leave this undefended because I don't believe the Soviets can attack over. To the west of the Pskov, and the southern boundary of Army Group North, we have some infantry that has made contact with Soviet formations right outside of Pskov. And a little south, we have infantry that is going to establish a defensive line over the Velikaya River. So Army Group North is starting to get close to forming the defensive line from the Gulf of Finland all the way down past Pskov to the southern part of the Velikaya River. Moving further south, there's a little gap, actually probably between the boundary of Army Group North and Army Group Center. We have a 30-mile gap that's uncovered. Got a little zone of control here. But I do not anticipate the Soviets to move west. And if they do, we can maybe conduct some counterattacks on them. So let's check out the situation report for Army Group Center. We've managed to array our forces in preparation for the attack over the land bridge between the Daugava and the Dnieper. We did some isolated attacks with some infantry actually that made it finally to the front. And I'll just point out, we had infantry down by Minsk and they marched amazing distances, well over 100 miles through all this terrain. So they are doing an incredible job for us, and they haven't fought very much since the opening rounds on D-Day +1. So very anxious to get them back into the action and start making some more and better progress. Now that we'll have the infantry supporting our panzers, which we're about to achieve here, because I'm kind of excited about how it's shaping up. Although it's in its very early stages, kind of shaping operations. We pushed back the 17th and 13th Tank Division and had a good result with that retreat. Caused over 350 AFE losses. And we pushed back this infantry division here, the 143rd. We took one of the Panzer Corps that was down south along the Dnieper region where this infantry had relieved them in place and brought them up here. So the panzers are assembling, and the attack across the land bridge will be in full force next turn. And I shuffled pretty much every Luftwaffe formation that I had closer to the front. So with that added support, we're looking to have some good results next turn. We did manage to cross the Dnieper right here on this hex, and we pushed back the 38th Rifle Division, which was a great result. And it was just one deliberate attack, and I think it was conducted by either the 29th Motorized or the 17th, I forget. But I didn't commit many forces to the attack. I just wanted to, send a probing force and see what kind of resistance we're going to encounter, and we pushed them back, made them retreat. So we pushed over a couple tank divisions, panzer divisions. So we are now threatening the east side of the Dnieper, which is very encouraging, and maybe that will start giving the Soviets something else to think about rather than stacking up here along the land bridge. Fuel, of course, is always going to be an issue. We have 1% fuel for each of those panzer divisions, and that's pretty sad. But our headquarters is nice and close, and our railhead is not too far away, which we can show you in a little bit. So hopefully they'll get enough fuel to cause some concern for the Soviets down here along the Dnieper. And we have strong infantry formations now. The Which corps is this? Yeah, this corps has only 3 divisions, but this is the 38th Infantry Corps. Or is that the 40th? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's the 48th Infantry Corps. And oh, did we attack here? I think we did. Yes, we did an attack here, and we actually pushed back one of these. I think it was the 217th Rifle out of this swamp hex across the river. So that's really good. So we're going to cross next turn. So we have multiple crossings across the Dnieper, giving the Soviets more things to think about. So yeah, infantry throughout Army Group Center have marched and marched and marched, and they are very close to the front now, and will make their presence felt. So happy about that. Real quick, you can see that our automated railroad engineers are doing a pretty good job. They're inching forward, but every little bit counts. And the good news is they're not going to have to do this in 42 and 43. We'll have those rails up nice and tight against our front, so supply won't be as strong a consideration as we are experiencing now in 1941, when our troops are racing ahead and we don't have a railroad system to support them. Yeah, here it is. This is the one I can control myself and put on info screen. No, map information. I think I have to click out off of a unit in order to show it. So yeah, doesn't look far, but that's pretty good. It's a lot better than what we're doing in Army Group South as far as getting a rail system repaired and ready to support our troops. So by next turn, we may be up to Minsk, and it's pretty close to the front, the railhead. So that's not bad. Encouraging sign. All right. That mostly completes what we're doing with Army Group Center. Oh, let's do this now on camera. Probably unnecessary, because I'd like to have our infantry handle it next turn. But I want to, now that I think about it, it's probably unnecessary. I would like to have both these panzer divisions attack this hex to have some tank battle action. And I can get a deliberate attack. I'm going to come back. I don't really need to do that, because we could get a good result by getting more infantry up against this very strongly defended hex and push them back without really not achieving anything. What will happen? We'll probably cause a whole bunch of casualties to them, but they'll still just retreat into these hexes, so I don't think it's necessary. I was gonna think about doing it and get it on camera, but now I just talked myself out of it. Alright, so let's go to Army Group South. I got some moves that we can show on camera. I did some admin moves. The 5th SS Panzer Division is now assigned to the 39th Mountain Corps, because they're going to give our infantry a little bit of extra combat power to start rolling up the Soviets along the east bank of the Dnieper up to Kiev. And our infantry, again, just similar to all the fronts, are just trying to get to the front where the fighting is and start to contribute. Almost there. We saw the Soviets retreat the last turn rather than pressing forward after making that attack on one of our panzer divisions, and now they're starting to assemble around Kiev. If we have some good progress attacking north along the east bank of the Dnieper, I have a hunch, I have a suspicion that they're going to abandon Kiev, which won't bother me at all. It'll save us a fight. Because I think next video, since we're going to be involving Kiev, the Kiev area of operations, some nice excerpts because Kiev was an absolute meat grinder for the Germans, and the way the Soviets defended Kiev was very, very eye-opening. Like masters of the Soviets and masters of camouflage and booby traps and just very nasty, nasty things. And I have a book called Eastern Inferno. It's the journals of a German Panzerjäger on the Eastern Front, 1941 to 1943. You wonder why it's 1945, but he happened to die in 1943. And he has some personal accounts because he took part in the very thick of the fighting outside of Kiev and into Kiev. And it's chilling. I mean, we sit here doing these war games and reading about the history, but unimaginable what the forces on both sides endured on the Eastern Front. But I think it's pretty cool. We can read a little bit about some action on the Eastern Front from the eyes of a Panzerjäger. All right, so that said, we will start to move north of Kiev and see if we can get some crossings. It doesn't look like they're going to fend these branches, maybe up here, but if we can displace them without even attacking Kiev by threatening now with this bridgehead, that'd be great. Either way, we're going to take Kiev, whether in open city or we get it encircled. I didn't do any of the moves with my panzer divisions where we are going to go with the course of action to attack south and east, exploiting a lesser defended part of the front and grabbing as much terrain in these cities as we can, and trying, if we deny them escape route over into the Crimea, that would be a decent encirclement. Because I'm a little encouraged about, I'm not, lifting my nose at being able to encircle this amount of Soviet formations, because I'll show you what we were able to do way back at where we started off, our jumping off points, where we were still had a whole bunch of Soviets surrounded. The casualty count was quite high that we caused on the Soviets with very little effort. So yeah, I'll show you that in a second. So I'll show you that now, and then we'll just do the moves, and we'll look at losses, and then we'll execute the turn. So there used to be a whole bunch of Soviets here. Well, not a whole bunch, but a considerable amount where we had moved our Axis Minor allies up north, and we kind of met around this area. So we did a bunch of attacks, and what looked like pretty terrible odds for us for an attack, but I started to do the attacks, and almost all of the Soviets in here surrendered. And probably because I think we got Lvov this turn, like Steve was saying. This was a supply base for them, so they probably stayed in supply longer than I would have liked, and I should have taken that sooner. But, not everything can go perfectly. I'm definitely making some errors here. And I'll show you my biggest error. Thorn in my side. So we just have a couple Soviets left, which we'll easily clean up with just even attacking with security divisions and the Slovaks. So that's good. That will finally be out of our hair, and we started to make some rail line repairs, but we're way behind in Army Group South, way behind getting a railhead close to the front. So we're going to suffer a lot for a while in our panzers, but we're going to do the best we could, and I think that really was in the back of my mind why I chose this safe route and not try to exploit all the way to Kharkov. extending the front even more and just really being hampered by a lack of fuel. Alright, so that's pretty good. Oh, let's talk about... I don't even want to show you guys this. Believe it or not, these two divisions held out against, I think like 3 or 4 deliberate attacks. And they held each time. But finally, they have no supply, nowhere to go, and, you know, oh my god, so annoying. So very annoying. This rail line should have been freed up long ago, and I would have been starting to repair it. But next turn, they're goners. They are goners. I'm telling you. Because after these divisions right here did some cleanup with the Soviets in the pocket, and they moved north, and they are going to contribute to the fight. Pretty ridiculous that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 precious German infantry divisions just to take out 4 Soviet divisions. Oh, Lord. Anyways, and the swamp walkers are making their way slowly but surely, not encountering anything but probably lots of mosquitoes and misery going through the swamp. But they're not getting shot at, so they should be happy about that. Alright, so let's do some moves. We'll start here. See what the 5th SS can do. It looks like a headquarters. I bet that disappears. I'm not going to go too far because I don't have yet enough infantry to come over and, you know, protect our supply. Because very easily they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 8 divisions to our 1. I think that's about as far I'll go. Probably right here as well. No need to attack. That's not going to really accomplish anything. Alright. So just starting to set the stage for attacking north along the Dnieper. And we move these divisions here as far as we could go. Alright. So, who's going to be first? So the 57th is going to start the attack south and east. So the 57th is part of the 38th Panzer Corps, which only has 2 divisions right now, because I've been assigning as I can to keep everybody in supply and command and control. So here goes 11th Panzer, which has 89% fuel, so get us a fair amount. And we'll get our headquarters up here too. We'll do 2 hasties on both of these just to start widening the penetration here into their front. I mean, we didn't lose anyone. They retreated 1,200 men. That's better. Routed. They only had 4,000 men, so they must have been in action. Okay. Oh dear. Uh-huh. I think the 130th here has been sitting in Kirovograd, just waiting for us. Can I do a deliberate? I can. It's important. I mean, we have to dislodge. I don't like my odds, but it's got to happen. All right. 11th Panzer, getting the job done. Oh, that's good. I thought the odds were even worse. I thought this river, the Ingul, had covered this hex site as well, so it wasn't as horrible for us. All right. Very good. All right, so they start to clear the way. And oh, great. We can get in Kirovgrad. Yes, excellent. Still in supply. All right. Good stuff there, 11th Panzer. Everybody here. I keep hoping that some infantry has something left in the tank. I don't wanna. Definitely not gonna attack, and I don't believe they'll push up. I was gonna leave this undefended, but we have the 31st Panzer Corps, so they can start taking perimeter duty. So we're gonna push, disengage. Don't have much movement factors. Only half of our fuel going. So let's continue to push away that division. Get it off the rail lines. Ooh, look at that! Got some air power. Oh dear, they held. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Well, we gotta do it. It's not ideal whatsoever. All right. Darn. Okay. 54. Fuel as well. Yeah, we're not getting there very far, but we're not really in a great position. You know, we're not right up against where we would be normal jumping off positions. These commanders are getting orders way out of place that, hey, the new objectives are to attack south and east and take Dnepropetrovsk, the city, and Stalino and Rostov. Stop what you're doing. I know you're low on fuel, but get at it. Alright. It's good, but again, taking up a lot of resources to do those attacks. I was hoping for a route. Just a supreme lack of fuel. I'm gonna keep you there for now. Let's bring our core headquarters over. Alright. You're just gonna only really manage to start covering some flanks, get into position to attack next turn. Let's get you here, because this is more in the direction of where we want to go. Yep, totally out of fuel. Totally out of fuel. Yeah, these treats are just frustrating. It's not the best way to go about business with the tanks, but you got to get this penetration as deep as we can, as soon as we can. One, two, three, four. We'll stop there. Alright, I mean, we're probably looking at is the best we can get accomplished right now. They'll probably all retreat. Probably back. We're probably looking at Soviet forces all along here. Next turn as a retreat. Maybe even further east. Not insignificant. We can destroy all these, but not crippling either to the Soviets. These are kind of like write-off divisions for them right now. They don't even need them. We don't know what's out here. We did several recon air missions, and we haven't seen anything. So cross our fingers that hey, this is what's in front of us right now. And once supply improves, then we can do some real damage. All right. So we have now the 3rd Panzer Corps. Were we going to... It's just sad. All right. Jeez. They are holding their integrity and their cohesion in the face of multiple attacks, just retreating in good order to still not be disrupted or routed or destroyed. Shattered is the other result we could have hoped for, but no. They are being very dogged. So we have our 14th Panzer. Do we want to get on the other side of the Ingel? I don't know if we do. I really don't think we want to, because then we just have to cross over again. Yeah, we'll stay on the other east of the Ingel. I mean, can we reach Kirovi Rog? Who's here? 100. Oh, dummy! I know who's there. We just attacked him like 4 times. All right, 4th or 5th time's a charm. Finally. No, we didn't. He's still in good order. Who is in command of the 130th Rifle Division? I want to know. Because we probably have to assassinate him, because if he becomes a front commander, we're in trouble. Jeez. Not the best result. We'll set up our headquarters in Kirovo. How do you say that? Doggone it. Kirovograd. Okay, that's the easier one. Alright. Not many left. We attacked as far as we could go here. Bridgehead. Alright, this is the 24th Panzer, which has, again, not... Oops, we want to do that. Just two divisions. They did have the 5th SS Panzer under their command, but now it has been retasked. Alright, they're definitely not going to come south. I know that. 79% fuel. Alright. Do you think we can do it? Do we think we can finally rout or shatter the 130th. This is a thing now. I'm getting stubborn. We could do a dedicated, deliberate. It's going to take a lot of their fuel, though. Will we be, if we do a deliberate, will we be able to take, yeah. I got to get rid of that. If they retreat, oh my God. They have retreated 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles, being attacked by 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 panzer divisions getting attacked in the steppe, and they have not been overrun. All right, well, it is what it is. I mean, they're... Tip my hat to them. That was pretty impressive. Oh, we have the 9th Panzer Division. The 9th Panzer Division is your doom. 130th. I mean, we got to go this way anyways, and they're in our way, so. Hey, the bright side is that there's nobody else in front of us. It's just the 130th holding the fort for the Soviets. I'm going to do another deliberate. Jeez. What's it gonna take? Alright, I'll take the city. You know what? I'm gonna get you next time. Yeah. Soviets have some heroic defenders right now. Literally, I don't know. I don't know how many attacks. 2 deliberate by relatively fresh and well-fueled. Not well-fueled, but... Alright. Don't know what happened, what that was all about. Oh. Okay. 36 Panzer. Alright. I don't want to bother. I'm not going to do it. 2nd SS Panzer. We couldn't even reach him anyways. Alright, that... Yeah, we're going to have to do some admin moves. The 36 doesn't need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. While the other cores only have a couple. Yeah, we'll reassign off camera. But we're going to get you through. Let's start thinking that retreating Soviets are going to be coming this way. And block the routes. Is he in command and control? No, he's not. Oh, he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we're going to get the core headquarters a little closer. Keep him on the rail. Keep him in the city. And I think that is it. It's a whole lot of tanks, a whole lot of our panzers pushing south now and east. Which... You know, who needs an army when you have the 130th Rifle Division in front of you? There's no other Soviets around. And it looks like we may be able to get a bit of an encirclement here. And reading the Army Group South book that I was reading earlier, they did some attacks pretty down here. Yeah, Kherson. They spell it different in the book, But they were able to have some significant, well, not significant, yeah, significant. They destroyed some significant Soviet forces in here, and I believe in an encirclement. So we're kind of doing that, but are we gonna push the Panzers all the way down here? We may have to, but we could get infantry to cut them off, and for the better part, for most of the eastward perimeter of the encirclement that's happening right now, cover it with our infantry and not tie up too many Panzers for too long before they're relieved in place to carry on the attack eastward. Okay, we got one left. I toyed with the idea of keeping the 31st Panzer Corps in and around Kiev, and around the Kiev area operations to support any attacks in here, but the terrain's really not favorable. And if we get them dug into any fighting in here, it's going to be tough to extract them to contribute to our operational and strategic goals in the south and east here. So I am going to burn a whole lot of fuel to get back in the fight in the south. I spent a turn just accumulating this fuel, and it's almost painful moving. What could they do up here? Definitely not going to attack into the city or into the swamps or over the Dnieper. Trying to talk myself out of keeping them up here. I could just, you know what? Well, they're not going to get much farther. Okay, either way, so we wouldn't attack up in this area operations around Kiev. We'll get them here because that's about as far as they can go, and we'll make the decision to be like a reserve Panzer Corps for the axis of attack down here, or to support the bridgehead and attack up. So we'll just get that move done, and I think that pretty much covers the turn for us. Just get them on a rail. Let's get them in a neutral position where they could go either or to make my... There we go. No, I feel pretty good about making the decision to, for an operational and strategic impact, committing the bulk of our panzers in this attack down here, rather than stretching what I think would be very thin to Kharkov at this point. In the year, in the months of 1941. Who we got left? What are you doing? Can't go that far. Alright, so I just completed the moves here with the 31st Panzer Corps and took a little time to scroll around and make sure I didn't miss anything egregious. Everybody has moved to their utmost. Little disjointed, but you know what? There's no sign of Ivan again here in the Dnieper Bend. And that's pretty good. I mean, the Soviets will have to rail forces in, which they did, extensively to reinforce the fronts as the Germans broke out time and time again during the offensive in 1941. So I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly after air recon on the next turn they'll be at least a smattering of Soviets defending these cities and the river. But they got a lot of front to cover because these Soviets would have been defending over here, but we've broken through and now have an encirclement forming. We'll see. We'll see what this turns out to be. All right, so we're about to click end turn. Just making sure. You guys tell me if I missed anything. We moved our air. No other attacks. All right, here goes. Oh! Prior to, let's do this, like Steve pointed out, info screens. Let's see some losses. What do we do this turn during our attacks? This turn. Current turn, Soviets. Okay, so 136,000 casualties caused this turn. And most of those, I think, came from the encirclement. Or I guess we'll call it an encirclement way back by Lvov. As we just mopped up, finally, the Soviet forces that were there. That's mostly what the casualties were caused there. But I was pointing out, pretty significant, 1,729 guns and over 1,000 AFEs destroyed this turn. So we're over 5,000 total. So not bad as far as casualties go. So we can't be complaining and whining that we didn't have a more massive encirclement yet, but we'll be looking for that in probably 1942. But right now, not so bad, not so bad. Okay. So let's click the turn and see what the Soviets do. I'm interested mostly to see what their reaction is to the continued expansion, minor expansion over our bridgehead, and what we've done here. And also what we've done here with a bridgehead over the Dnieper, and now that we're arraying our forces ready to attack through the land bridge. Okay, we had some technical difficulties due to some distractions. Wife, 2 kids, bunch of animals. It's gonna happen. I do my best to set aside some quiet time. But the result of that is we didn't get to see the Soviets' turn, and finishing up talking about the last pieces of the Germans' turn. But a cool feature that I can show you what exactly happened, and a little alarming. So you can click Show Battles, and we'll start from the north. This is what the Soviets did on their turn. A lot of recon. They're checking us out, seeing what we have. A little ominous, They realize that we don't have much in the way of forces in the far north of Army Group North. And checking out Army Group Center. No attacks. And we'll show you what a attack icon looks like. Just more recon. This is us interdicting the Soviets. So coming down. Alright, first Soviet attack. Well, they ganged up on, who is that? That's the GD, right? That's Grossdeutschland. Alright, you better get in your licks now when it's Grossdeutschland is just a regiment. Ivan, because it'll be a full-fledged division, and a very good one at that. Alright, so what did they do to GD? They attacked with 32,000 forces, 32,000 men, 389 artillery pieces, and 336 AFVs, assorted AFVs. AFVs, that's not all tanks, and I'll show you shortly how it's kind of broken down. And we only defended with 7,000. You look at the result, we held, And Soviets lost 1,000 men and 193 vehicles, and we only lost 19 men and no vehicles. So that was incredible fighting withdrawal as we retreated in the face of overwhelming odds. So very good, great commander, and a good start for the GD, showing him what it can do. And here, this is where it got a little scary. Soviets attacked with 57,000 men, all that artillery, and not as many AFEs against our forces. And they lost not too many, and we retreated. We decided not to stand ground and retreated wisely. But they pushed us back. I believe we were up here, and they pushed us back. And they are now definitely annoyed with our bridgehead over the Dnieper here. And they also attacked the 257th right here with 26,000 forces. Again, not too many losses. It was just they started the attack, and we saw the writing on the wall and gave some ground up into Cherkasy. But still, it's showing their aggression, and they have very ill intentions for our bridgehead. But alarming, however, we have a lot of forces. They be able to make it, I think, to start reinforcing our bridgehead, which it looks like our plan to attack north along the east side of the Dnieper is going to be highly contested. And nothing else happened down here. And you can start to see where the Soviets have started to retreat. And as expected, more Soviets were starting to be detected, trying to rush in and what is essentially a wide open front for us. And quite an encirclement of, we can't see them now, but last turn we saw there was all the way up from here in the north down quite a string of Soviet formations that hopefully we're going to encircle. So that was their turn. Sorry I didn't get to see it. It was kind of scary watching them attack here. But all right. And we'll quickly just finish off. This video's gone pretty long, longer than I anticipated. But we did a lot of talk of planning for the next several turns. And now that we have a way forward, in case nothing dramatically bad happens to our intentions, we're going to carry on with those courses of action that we outlined. So we won't be doing as much planning talk in the next video. I really enjoy going over the planning stage of what we're going to do for the turns. It's pretty cool seeing how the battle unfolds. All right. Losses. So with those two attacks, they caused considerable amount of losses to us, like we saw in when we hovered over the battle. During the Soviets' turn, we lost 13,000 men. It's pretty rough. They captured a number of our, over 1,000 captured. They captured some here. As we were retreating, probably some of our troops didn't get out in time. But they lost a considerable amount of forces themselves, to include 284 AFEs. But AFEs, again, is not necessarily pure tanks we're talking about. We look quickly over here. You can say that permanent loss is broken down by the model of the tank and the AFE itself. So this turn we lost a lot of Panzer II Cs, which are really obsolete vehicles. It's just amazing what the Germans were able to accomplish with the technology of their armor at the time. Really not impressive vehicles when you consider what they end up with the Panthers and the Tigers. But incredible what they achieved. And so this is, we don't want to lose anything, but Panzer II Cs, all right, we're going to be replacing them pretty soon with Panzer IIIs. And down here, AFE losses are considered half tracks. and all the different variants, the myriad variants of half tracks. So it wasn't just all tanks that we lost here, 90, and it wasn't all pure tanks that the Soviets lost. But we did lose a considerable sum. Panzer III Gs, that's no joke. I mean, 16. Those must have been with the Gross Deutschland. All right, so that's the losses, and this is going to be the end of this turn. Hope you enjoyed it. And pan out a little bit. Next couple of turns are going to be very interesting, and I can't wait to start executing them and sharing them with you. This is First Fire, non-assault move out.